Hello folks, my name is Mark, and this is Why I Hate the World. And, well, this video is about the debt crisis, which we just narrowly avoided. And, I don't know, folks, I'm pretty fucking disappointed in my country right now, okay? Let me just move this over a little. Okay. So, as of tonight, the Huffington Post is reporting that a deal has been struck, which we all kind of knew that was going to happen to begin with. And you know, the vote is going forward tomorrow. And the first thing I want to say about this is that this entire crisis, you know, I use that term loosely, crisis, it's a total load of fucking shit, alright? The whole fucking thing is just ridiculous. Actually, fuck that. Anyway. You know, from start to finish, I mean, raising the debt ceiling, you know, traditionally that's been a matter of routine, right? I think it was something like they raised it 12 times under Ronald Reagan, and they raised it, like, you know, 9 times under George W. Bush, or some shit like that, right? It's bullshit, okay? And, you know, this kind of fight has never happened before, right? Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who are, like, in other countries who are viewing this with bated breath, and because it's going to drag down the world economy. This kind of thing has never happened before. And it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that the Republicans are forcing this upon us, essentially, right? Here for democracy. Now, you know, the thing is that, I mean, it was manufactured by those idiotic teabagging fucking assholes that everyone voted in last year, you know, and they did it specifically to make Barack Obama look bad. That's exactly why this happened, okay, because they want to defeat Barack Obama. So, all of you out there know that I'm pretty much a liberal, you know, evil tree hugger type person, and personally, I tend to not give a shit about taxes or spending or the debt or any of that crap, right? But the problem is that there really is a debt crisis in this country. Like, I mean, I said this in another video, even not that long ago, where it was going to come to a head and they were going to blame, you know, Democrats for spending too much, which is bullshit, because the debt that we have, something like 80% of it was occurred during conservative Republican presidential administrations, alright? That's the thing they're not telling you here, is that the Republicans spent all this fucking money, not the Democrats. But anyway, aside from that, you know, there is a problem, okay? Now, the national debt is somewhere around $14 trillion, right? And that's not sustainable. You know, and it actually is kind of something to be alarmed about, because when a country's national debt reaches the same amount that their GDP is, very bad things start happening, okay? The money starts losing value, you know, you might get hyperinflation, you know, interest rates might go up like crazy, shit like that, okay? So if they don't actually do anything about spending, there really could be some, you know, pretty bad consequences in the future, right? That being said, this is not the way to go about that, okay? There is a normal budget process that Congress goes through every year to decide how much money they're going to spend next year. That's where you make this fight, okay? You don't go when basically the debt ceiling, you know, you don't say like, oh, the debt ceiling is for money that has already been spent, essentially, okay? They've made, you know, they've made the promises, they've written the checks, all of that shit, and if they don't actually raise money for this and they default on that, then it, you know, like everybody's saying, it's going to ruin the good faith and credit in the United States, and, you know, the 5% loan that you got on your house is going to jump up to, you know, 25%, okay? No one's going to be able to afford to buy anything, all right? You won't be able to get a car loan, you won't be able to buy, you know, you won't be able to buy a house, okay? If you run a business, right, and you need to take a loan out to pay your people, like a lot of businesses do, you know, they'll go to a bank, they get a loan, They make payroll, then at the end of the month they get the receipts and they pay back the bank. That shit happens all the time. That's how you run a business, like a lot of the time, right? That won't happen anymore. Businesses will be forced to lay people off. All kinds of crazy shit will happen if you don't raise the fucking debt ceiling, okay? And you're hearing this a lot in the news and shit where they're saying, oh, they're holding people hostage, because that's exactly what they're fucking doing. They're holding people hostage over the debt ceiling, and it's not the way to do it. What you do, if you want to cut spending, is you go to the fucking budget like every other goddamn Congress in the fucking history of time has done, and you make your goddamn fight there. You don't do it, you know, what they're essentially doing is they're putting a gun to everybody's head and saying, you're gonna do what we say, you know, fuck them. I swear to fucking God, like, why is this shit even happening? I don't know. Now, you know, speaking of government spending and its effect on the economy, I think it's pretty hard to deny, I mean, just in general, you know, they've been talking a lot about Keynesian economics, you know, with Barack Obama and government spending as a part of GDP, right? And I think it's hard to deny that that's actually pretty successful over the last couple of years. You know, think about that. I mean, we had, you know, Barack Obama's $700 billion stimulus, and then we had, there was actually some bank bailouts and shit, which was actually, don't forget, George W. Bush is the one that committed to those fucking bank bailouts, okay? Anyway, even though Obama did pay him off, and I think he should have, like, not, but what are you gonna do, right? But even that, you know, then he also did some other things, like, I mean, yeah, okay, even, you know, the bank bailout thing, you know, sure, they ripped us off for, you know, billions of dollars, but at least the banks didn't fucking implode like they said they were going to. Who knows? Personally, I think the whole thing was a fucking scam, but whatever. But, you know, besides that, I mean, we also had the GM bailout, right? And, you know, I think that actually worked out pretty well. You know, I think it says a lot. I mean, GM is actually a profitable company now, right? And, you know, and I gotta admit a little bit of bias here, because I work in a satellite industry of the auto industry, right? And without that bailout, there's a good chance that I could have lost my job, right? So basically, you know, I pretty much owe my job to fucking Barack Obama and government bailouts, right? So, you know, I'm gonna say nice things about it, because fucking thanks to him, I'm not fucking, you know, homeless right now. But anyway, I mean, think about, okay, you know, think about how much money we're talking about here, folks, right? $1 million. Okay, think about $1 million. Well, the average salary for a person in the United States is roughly $50,000, give or take, roughly 50 grand, right? So if you have $1 million, that's either enough to pay somebody, that's enough to pay 20 people a salary of $50,000, right? So if that was $1 billion, that's 200 people, okay? Or sorry, 2,000 people, sorry. Now, if you know, wait, is that 2,000? I don't know, it's a shitload. I'm not going to worry about math right now. But I do know that now the Republicans, they essentially forced their, you know, with this deal that they got, right, they're forcing $2 trillion out of the economy over the next 10 years, right? Well, think about how many is that? That's like, how many people is $2 trillion if you were to give them all 50 grand a year's average salary? That's something in the area of 40 million people. Okay, that's how much the economy is going to shrink now over the next decade because of these teabagging dickheads, right? Now, is it necessary? Maybe. All right, is it fucking, you know? But just think about that now. Is the, you know, are the American companies out there going to be able to, you know, create 40 million jobs over the next decade? I highly fucking doubt it, okay, because they're not doing that now. You know, they're taking the money that we gave them 2-3 years ago, and they're going and they're creating jobs in China and in India. You know, there was a thing with GM that just, like, shut down a plant, and they just moved it to fucking India, okay? They, you know, I mean, there is no such fucking thing as an American company anymore, all right? We all of us in this country, in the United States, we got booty raped 2 years ago, okay? They fucking anally raped us and took all of their fucking, took the bailout money, and now they're going to third world countries where they get to pay somebody 2 cents a fucking hour, you know, and dump their toxic shit into a river, and we're fucked. And it's, you know, the goddamn Republicans are helping them to do that. You know, now, I mean, this just opens up a lot more. I mean, if you think about, you know, what is the, you know, it's become apparent to me, right, that the Republican plan for this country, right, is to turn us into a copy of China. You know, they want to emulate China's economic plan, right? And basically that means, you know, they want to get rid of all unions, right? And they want to drive down wages, and they want to get rid of any environmental regulations, right? Any safety regulations, any workers' comp, anything like that, anything that protects workers, right? And then they want to cut the shit out of corporate taxes, you know, because they think that somehow this will convince those American companies that basically have been bailing out on us, right, to come back here and to, like, employ people. And, you know, listen to fucking Michelle Bachmann, listen to her talk, you know, like, she straight out said, you know, we can employ more people if we didn't have a minimum wage. Like, well, you know, what the fuck kind of job pays less than the minimum wage, huh? I mean, who's gonna work that kind of job for fucking $3 an hour and shit? Alright, it's because they want to turn us into, they want to turn the country into a fucking maquiladora. That's what they want to do. They want to turn the U.S. into China. You know, you seen those videos of people working in China in those fucking shitty ass factories? Like, there's one that caught my eye where there was a guy, like, in a press that came down, and he was like this, alright, because the press came down on his head, and he had like a fucking pie plate or some shit, and it's like, you know, and it was crushing the pie plate, and he had to get down and everything to avoid his neck being broken. Who the fuck wants to work like that, alright? You know what? It's bullshit. I mean, they're gonna turn the United States into a fucking corporate hell. A shitty ass ball of fucking steaming, muddy, polluted shit where fucking everybody makes 50 cents a fucking day, and it's just no, alright? You know, what we should be doing in this country, in the United States, what we should be doing is what Germany and Japan are doing, okay? They're making, you know, you don't try to outcompete China, right? You don't try to make, you don't want to turn your country into the land of a billion fucked up factories that makes really shitty consumer goods that fall apart in 2 weeks, alright? There's a reason why made in China is like a stamp of like, this thing is gonna fucking, this is a piece of shit, okay? Because they don't care about quality. You know, what you should be doing is what, you know, in Germany, they still have factories, they have an industrialized sector, and the things that they make are like high, you know, expensive luxury goods, okay, and high quality, you know, things of high quality that are worth the money, alright? That's why you have BMWs coming out of fucking Germany, okay? German engineered cars and stuff, you know, it's something that's not gonna fucking collapse on you, alright? If you hit a tree with it, it's not gonna fold up like a paper towel and kill you, okay? Because there's quality in it, and you pay for that quality, and that's what we should be doing in the United States, right? But, you know, that requires paying your people more, right? That requires a national fucking health plan, which both Germany and China have, I mean, and fucking Japan have, right? That requires fucking unions, okay? That requires paying people more to retain skilled workers, alright? And the Republicans are not interested in that shit, because that means you have to raise fucking taxes, alright? So, I don't know, man. You know, it's like I don't know. I mean, the thing is that this shit is just gonna happen again in probably 6 months. I think that's what the deal is. I think that was what Barack Obama wanted to avoid, because 6 months from now is gonna be right in the middle of a fucking election, right? But I think that's what the deal was that, you know, it raises it enough so that 6 months from now we get to go through this shit all over again, and they're gonna cut even more, and the economy is gonna shrink even more, and basically the teabagger dickheads are just, they're gonna fuck us up, and there's not much we can do about it until the next election, you know. But, you know, what did you people think was gonna happen when we voted for them? I mean, I didn't fucking, that's what you get for voting for these crazed fucking people, you know. But I mean, it's not too late to do something about these people. It's gonna come up again in 6 months. It's not too late to do something about these people, alright? Like, if you live in the United States, call your fucking congressman, okay? Email them, write them a snail mail letter, you know, actually type some shit out and print it out, or just get a pen and write a fucking letter and put a stamp on it and send it. They respond to shit like that, okay? Even if they don't read it, they're gonna get your opinion and they're gonna put it in a column saying, this guy wants taxes, this guy doesn't want taxes, okay? The idea is to fucking fill out that column and to overwhelm them with your opinion, alright? That's the only way, that's the only thing you have that's gonna compete with corporate money in the system, alright? And you know what? Don't just call your congressman, alright? Call the other congressman too. Alright? Call your guy, call the fucking teabagger people, alright? Leave them messages and shit, okay? Because the things that they're saying, you know, their votes are going to influence your life, so let them know what you think. Fuck them. And even if you don't vote for them, you know, you have some influence there, alright? And you know, if you don't live in the United States either, feel free to call them as well, okay? And if you live in Canada, if you live in, you know, Europe or some shit, right? If the economy fucking, if these teabagger dickheads destroy the economy here by not raising the fucking debt ceiling in 6 months, that's gonna fuck you guys up too. So you know what? Call them, alright? Call them, email them, write them letters. Feel free. You know, what's that gonna do? Like, if, you know, if fucking Michelle Bachmann got like 7 million fucking letters from all around the world telling her to shape the fuck up, you know, maybe that, I don't know, maybe somebody might, you know, highly unlikely, but it might actually turn a gear in there going, hey, maybe I'm being a dickhead. You know, I don't know, but that's what we need. We need people to speak up and, you know, let them know under uncertain terms that if you continue with this stupid bullshit, you're not gonna be there next year, alright? I mean, I don't know, the Congress, our country, we really need to get our shit together in this country, alright? I think I don't know. I mean, just because, you know, if we had a Republican president right now, this shit would not be happening, okay? Like, you know, don't even try to say that has nothing to do with it, because it does, okay? If John McCain would have won the election, they would have raised the fucking debt ceiling. There would have been no fight over it, alright? There wouldn't have been, like, any of this bullshit about spending, okay? It's just, I don't know. And I think it really says a lot about what really motivates the Tea Party. That they're willing to play Russian roulette with the economy of the entire world like that. I mean, you know, for political reasons. That's basically what it is. You know, it's basically to defeat Barack Obama. They're willing to fuck everyone in the entire fucking world over. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous, you know. And, you know, I really hope that maybe this time they've gone a little bit too far, okay? I really hope that now people are going to see this and they're just going to be like, you know, these fucking shit-eating snake oil fucking Republicans have just, that's too much, you know, and they might actually see them for what they fucking are, because these people, they don't care about you. They don't care about your children, they don't care about your grandparents or their Medicare or anything like that. They don't even care about the country, alright? All they fucking care about is basically making money for their friends. Opening up markets and making money for fucking rich people. And that shit has to end, okay? If that doesn't end, this country is gonna fucking implode upon itself, alright? And it's like, and this is just the first instance, right? Shit like this is gonna happen again, and over and over and over again. And you know, when America is finally destroyed, which, you know, all empires eventually come to an end, right? America eventually will dissolve one way or another. You know, whether it's in 50 years or in 500 years, it's going away. And right now, they're the fucking reason why this shit's happening. All right. I don't know, folks. Adios.